Welcome back. In honor of the new year, I've decided for the whole month of January to focus on this process of making dreams come true. Whether your dreams are for yourself personally, for your family, in work or career, how do we make dreams come true is the real question. And so in the first week of January, I introduced you to Walt Disney's strategy, he being probably one of the most famous dreamers. But he was a man who not only dreamed, he was able to take those dreams off the drawing board. And so when they studied Walt Disney, they realized that he used 3 different perspectives to make this process work. He used the dreamer. He stepped in and dreamed. He used a realist position to step in and experience what the dream was like. And then he used what he called the critic. And so today I'd like to go into a little more detail on how each of those work and where some of us get stuck. All right, so the dreamer, that's where it all begins for Walt Disney. He was extremely good at giving himself complete freedom to step into the dream, which really is the unknown. It's the future, it's possibilities. And so he would step in and just allow his imagination to go wild with no limits. And this is actually where people have trouble, where it actually feels for some people dangerous to step into the unknown. It may code for them as unsafe. For other people, they've been pretty good at dreaming, but maybe they've been criticized or judged for being a dreamer, not actually doing or completing things, or maybe it's that they started to dream things that people thought were pretty crazy. So I want you to think about for yourself. Have you been a child that would stare off into the sky or into space and just dream? Is that something you love to do? Did you enjoy it? Or were you a child that didn't do that? And if you did dream, were you criticized or supported for that dreaming? Did you feel understood, appreciated, valued for being a dreamer? Your answers to those questions will make a big difference in how you feel about the dreamer. So if it feels unsafe for someone, then they're going to shy away from that. If we've been criticized, we're not going to want to do that. And so we'll make our dreams smaller or more limited. The next position that Walt Disney did is once he'd done all his dreaming, he stepped in and really tried it on. And he called this position the realist. It doesn't mean being realistic or sort of down to earth, don't get your hopes up kind of perspective. It means being in the dream as if it's real. Walking around in it, trying it on, feeling what it's like, smelling, tasting, the full experience. That's what he meant by the realist. Now, for some people, this is also a position that feels dangerous. Some people have found, because of their past experiences, that being fully present feels unsafe for them. And so they've learned to distract, dissociate, we call it for a technical term, but really to take themselves away from the present moment so that it's not too overwhelming. So ironically, being in the present, really fully in a situation, can also feel unsafe for some people. And as you can see, that's a limiting thing. The third position that Walt Disney used was the critic. And it's often misunderstood because Walt Disney's purpose with the critic was to critique, to look at what could be changed or improved. So the whole role of the critic is not just to criticize, but to improve. Well, often the critic creeps in even when we're dreaming or when we're stepping in and trying on the dream. The critic can jump in too soon, and that's a real negative in the sense of it stops the process. So the critic's job is to notice what could be better. Now, Dr. De Bono identified, some of you will know his work, he called it the 6 hats, the 6 thinking hats. And he recognized that there were very different perspectives to think from. And he identified the critic as one of those perspectives. But as I say, the critical role is, how do I make things better? But many people, if they've been criticized as a child, in order to protect themselves, they jump ahead and become the one to criticize. And so they can lock into a pattern of always seeing what won't work and what's wrong. And that's a pattern of protection, which again will limit you. So all three of these positions, the dreamer, the realist, and the critic, are essential elements in the creative process of making your dreams come true. And all of them can be affected by our past experiences, by what we call emotional baggage. So let's just talk about that. If you have past experiences that stop you from dreaming, or in terms of stop you from really being present and fully living, experiencing something, or have locked you into a pattern of being critical, those experiences will live in your memory. And they get triggered, creating a whole chemical flood of feelings and emotions. Once we're in the sort of the whirl of feeling, the thoughts that match the feeling will keep coming. So let me explain what I mean. If I have a little worry and it comes up and I think, well, I don't want to be stupid, or I don't want to fail if I start really dreaming big, that thought, if it triggers some old feelings and some old memories, the feelings will now come up. And now those feelings will generate other thoughts and other worries. And before we know it, we can be going in a downward spiral. And so we're not in control at that point. We're not choosing our thoughts. It's almost like our feelings are choosing our thoughts instead. And that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza talked about, that it can start off with a thought creating a feeling, but before you know it, a feeling is now creating another thought, and you're off and running, almost like the dog chasing its tail. And his perspective is that we need to break those habits. We need to disconnect those patterns of worrying, of limiting, of judging, of avoiding, of procrastinating. So that's what we want to be looking at in this next couple of weeks. How do we address that? And so we have two things that we want to tell you about. One of which, if you want support in dreaming, we're offering an evening where you'll be guided in dreaming and creating the vision of what you'd like for 2015. This, if you click on the link below and you enter the code, you'll be able to attend complimentary, free for you, if you do that process. People that come to the door will be charged an admission fee. So find your friends, gather up your tribe, come out for an evening of dreaming and visioning. So that's happening. You can click on the link below. The other thing we want to tell you about is a 2-day workshop where you will be guided in clearing out all that emotional baggage that may have accumulated. It's time to do that cleaning out. It's like closets and cupboards. This is the emotional clearing out that we want to do in order to free our whole system to be able to dream, to create, to fulfill, to produce the things we want in our lives. So that happens at the end of February. We would love to see you at that workshop. And again, click on the link and you'll get the registration details. All right, have a great week. Have some fun exploring, thinking about what stops you. And I invite you to start making a list. What are the things you notice? The thoughts that limit you, the feelings that come up that stop you, or just patterns in general that are not serving you. Start your list so that you know what you want to clear in the future. Thanks. Bye.